I'm Mark Dresner, and this is DDP TV, a special interview series featuring experts and leaders at the forefront of drug delivery and development. Joining me today is Ian Hardy. He is the Pharmaceutical Development Director for Emerging Markets R&D at Merck. Ian, welcome to the program.
My pleasure, Mark.
Great to have you here. Let me throw one at you just to get going here. Emerging markets are playing an increasingly prominent role in the drug delivery industry. Can you frame the opportunity for us?
Yeah, so the emerging markets are extremely important for the future growth of the drug delivery industry. Around 84% of the world's population live in the emerging markets, with a growing income to spend on healthcare as a result of the growing middle class in these countries. Consequently, 90% of the pharmaceutical industry growth within the next few years is projected to come from the emerging markets, with many of these markets set to appear in the top 10 list of pharmaceutical markets. There are also many unmet medical needs within these countries as well, so there's a great opportunity to improve human health on a global scale. So the emerging markets simply cannot be ignored.
How well do you think the industry understands and is prepared to execute on this opportunity?
So I think the industry is acutely aware of the opportunity. You only need to look at the annual reports for many of the major pharmaceutical companies to see that the emerging markets is an area of strategic focus and importance. I think there is actually a knowledge gap at the moment, and I think the industry is in a learning and experimental phase, because it's one thing actually recognising the opportunity, but it's another thing developing the strategies you need in these individual markets to actually win there.
What are some of the key challenges then and the barriers to access from a delivery perspective?
So I think there's a number of barriers that really need to be navigated in order to access these markets. Firstly, cost is extremely important. Many of these markets, there's no healthcare insurance, and patients actually have to pay for their medication out of pocket. In addition to this, there are high levels of generic competition. So you really need to be careful around the price point that you set for new products and new drug delivery technology. I think companies also have the challenge of moving from a high profit margin, low volume business to a much lower profit margin, higher volume business as well. Secondly, I think there are vast differences between countries in terms of the regulatory requirements and expectations for registering new products, in addition to the way that healthcare is delivered. For example, in China, there's much more of a clinic and hospital-based healthcare system, which has really driven high usage rates of injectable products. If you contrast this with many of the countries in Latin America, where pharmacies tend to be the primary point of healthcare, this has driven much higher usage rates of oral solid dosage forms. I think thirdly, there are very strong historical and cultural biases which really drive patient beliefs around what makes effective medication. And I think one example of this is the high usage rates of traditional forms of medicine in many of the emerging markets. And finally, I think there's a lack of knowledge around how to actually use and develop some of the more complex drug delivery systems, which can actually represent a barrier to their use within certain emerging markets.
So, this is a little bit redundant, but I'm going to ask anyway. How does one establish a foothold in emerging markets? Is it a matter of, as you sort of alluded to, tailoring and customizing your products? And if it's a single product, do you require different delivery systems, for example, to meet the needs or expectations, if you will, of those markets? And how would that strategy play out?
Yeah, so I think an element of customization is important, or at least being selective around which particular markets a product is intended for. I think one of the issues with this, either coming forward with a customized product for each market or a focused set of markets, is really ensuring that the market opportunity is large enough to recoup the considerable development costs actually involved in that product as well.
Right, right. One last question, and that is, to what extent should partnering play a role in this kind of a strategy in breaking into these markets and in operating in a custom fashion?
Yeah, so I think partnerships both with local companies and academic institutions is very important and will be critical to ensure success in these markets for a number of reasons. Firstly, I think it's very important to leverage local knowledge in the design and customization of new products, and partnering with a local company will give you the opportunity to do that. I think secondly, because the margins are so low on a lot of these products, partnering with a local company may also give you the opportunity to take advantage of lower development costs as well. And I think thirdly, there are also some regulatory advantages in some countries through local partnerships, either with local companies or actually having a manufacturing presence in the countries where you intend to market the product. I think finally as well, I think many people actually have a one-dimensional view of the emerging markets as a place to grow Western-based products and medicines. I actually think the emerging markets is increasingly going to become a source of innovation for new products and drug delivery technology, which can be leveraged in developed markets as well. So I think through partnerships, Western-based companies need to be acutely aware of what these new innovations are, both as an opportunity and also a potential source of future competition, both in emerging and developed markets.
Outstanding. Ian, thanks for giving us a great global perspective and a little bit of a tour here of what it might be like from a strategic point. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Mark.
And on that note, that concludes this episode of DDP TV. I'm Mark Dresner. Thanks for joining us.